The UFC, the world leader in MMA. Experience it on Fox Sports 1.
Welcome to Porto Alegre, Brazil. The UFC visits Brazil's southernmost state for the first time ever, and we are bringing a heavyweight battle for the city's debut. And there are the heavyweights now. Born a couple hundred miles north, Antônio Bigfoot Silva returns to Brazil once again. He takes on a former champion in American Frank Mir, who is fighting in Brazil for the very first time. And Edson Barboza is another Brazilian looking to defend his home soil against American Michael Johnson in a lightweight co-main event that should be all action, all fight long. The Fox Sports 1 UFC Fight Night Bigfoot versus Mir weigh-in starts right now. Hi everyone, I'm Karen Bryant on a rare Saturday morning weigh-in show, joined by former UFC middleweight Brian Stann and current top middleweight Michael Bisping. Megan O'Leary will be joining us shortly. Now, Brian, one quick question before we get into everything. I'm sure you're very proud of the UFC for the new PED testing program they announced on Wednesday.
How funny is it you've got me and Michael Bisping talking about this right now, two of the most vocal guys in the space on PEDs. But look, I'm very proud, and this is something that I'll be involved in a little bit with the UFC as we evaluate how we're going to pull this off logistically. But I'm very proud they've taken the step, and it's a great day for the fighters. It's going to make it a safer, better, all-around sport.
I tweeted earlier this week that it's a great day for the sport of mixed martial arts, and it really is. More frequent testing and tougher penalties, pardon me, is what has been required for a long time. Unfortunately, that's what we're going to get.
Definitely a move in the right direction, guys. We do have some unfortunate news here to announce. So TJ Wahlberger fell ill prior to the weigh-ins and was taken to the hospital as a precautionary measure. His preliminary bout with Wendell Oliveira is now off. Both fighters, though, will receive their contracted show money, and the Fight Pass prelim between Cody Gibson and Douglas Silva de Andrade has moved to the Fox Sports 1 prelims. But with that, we now move on to the main event. Tomorrow's main event features a pair of heavyweights who have been on top of the sport for years now, Bigfoot Silva and Frank Mir.
I'll tell you what, when you're talking about the heavyweight division, you're talking about flip a coin, because these guys are so big, so powerful, so violent. And Bigfoot Silva has had some massive victories in there. Knocked out Alistair Overeem, knocked out Travis Brown. TKO'd Fedor Emelianenko, probably the all-time greatest heavyweight ever. He even knocked out a guy named Wesley Cabbage Carrera to be a throwback here.
That's old
He's
school.
got tremendous power, huge size, and hey, he can do it all, but he's going to look specifically to strike against Frank Mir.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's no secret. Frank Mir is one of the best submission guys in the UFC. He's the most experienced guy on the roster. He's been a professional since 2001. He's the former world champion. He's got 14 UFC wins, 8 submissions inside the first round. He's a big, strong, athletic, powerful heavyweight. As I say, knockouts, submissions, the guy can do it all, and most of all, super experienced.
Well, it's going to be interesting to Frank. His first fight in Brazil, we'll get into that later, but as you said, 24 fights in the UFC, third most in the history of the organization. But folks, it is time for us to step aside. We're going to send it down to the Fight Night weigh-ins live from Porto Alegre. Hodges Lima is going to take us through the ceremony, so why don't you take it away, sir? Take it away, Hodges.
Salve, salve Porto Alegre! Hello everybody around the world! Aqui estão os responsáveis por mais uma edição do UFC. Mr. Joe Silva, as nossas Octagon Girls, Camila Oliveira, Jenny Andrade, Luciana Andrade, Mr. Burt Watson, é o anjo da guarda dos atletas do UFC. E vamos para a cerimônia oficial da pesagem do UFC Fight Night, Bigfoot versus Mir. Para a luta de abertura que você acompanha, além do pay-per-view no UFC Fight Pass, divisão dos leves, Lightweight Division, vão se enfrentar Ivan Jorge e Josh Shockley. O primeiro a caminhar para a balança, the first on the scale is Mr. Josh Shockley.
Tomorrow, 2 UFC legends and former world champions throw down when Bigfoot Silva takes on Frank Mir. Plus, skilled lightweights clash as Edson Barboza battles Michael Johnson. UFC Fight Night is tomorrow beginning at 5:30 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1.
$155.
155, 70.3 kilos, 70 quilos e 300 gramas para Mr. Josh Shockley. E vem aí o seu adversário and his opponent, Mr. Ivan Batman!
Before being a part of the UFC's roster, Ivan Jorge was the champion of Brazil's highly regarded jungle fight promotion. A quick look at his record will tell you that he's a jiu-jitsu based fighter who, before signing with the UFC, had won 6 fights in a row, all by the way of rear naked choke, and nearly all inside the first round.
$155.
70.3 quilos, 70 quilos e 300 gramas para Mr. Ivan Batman. Tá aí confirmada, portanto, a primeira luta, divisão dos leves, Josh Shockley e Ivan Jorge, que você acompanha também no UFC Fight Pass. Vamos avançando para a primeira luta do card preliminar. Vão se enfrentar Douglas Silva de Andrade e o Mr. Cody Gibson. No primeiro a caminhar para a balança, the first on the scale is Mr. Cody, the Renegade Gibson!
Bantamweight Cody Gibson went into this training camp with the desire to add some mass to his physique. With the help of a new strength and conditioning coach and some Olympic-style lifting, he was able to pack on 5 pounds of muscle to his frame.
$135.
61.2 quilos, 61 quilos e 200 gramas para Cody Gibson. E vem aí o seu adversário, Douglas Silva de Andrade, Douglas de Silva.
Tomorrow, the best drivers in the world will push themselves and their cars to the limits in the 57th running of the Great American Race. The Daytona 500 begins tomorrow at noon Eastern, only on Fox.
$135.
61.2 quilos, 61 e 200 para Douglas de Silva. Aí confirmada, portanto, a segunda luta, divisão dos galos, Bantamweight Division, Cody Gibson e Douglas de Silva. Vamos avançando, vamos para a pesagem da terceira luta, divisão dos penas, Featherweight Division. Vão se enfrentar Thiago Trator e Mike De La Torre. O primeiro a caminhar para a balança é o Mr. Mike El Cucuy De La Torre.
Mike De La Torre said this week that he's always the underdog in his UFC fights, and you know, we really haven't seen his true skill set yet. His first fight was on 6 days' notice against UFC vet Mark Bocek, which he lost via a very close split decision. His second fight, a loss to Brian Ortega, who got caught cheating after the fight. So this is the first time I think we're going to see a fully trained Mike De La Torre against a quality opponent.
Quilos, 62 e 200 para Mike De La Torre. E vem aí o seu adversário and his opponent, Thiago Trator.
Thiago Trator made his UFC debut in July as a lightweight, but he has decided to make 145 pounds his home. And after a bout of the butterflies in his debut, he hopes that the nerves escape him and he's able to get his hand raised tomorrow night.
146.
146. 66.2 quilos, 62,200 para Thiago Trator. Já está confirmada, portanto, a terceira luta, card preliminar, divisão dos penas, Mike Della Torre e Thiago Trator. Vamos avançando, vamos para a divisão dos meio-médios, welterweight division. Vão se enfrentar William Patolino e Matt Dwyer. O primeiro a caminhar para a balança, the first on the scale is Mr. Matt Dwyer.
The race for the Big East regular season conference title is heating up. Monday, Xavier takes on St. John's. Then on Tuesday, it's a doubleheader, beginning with Providence battling 6th-ranked Villanova and Creighton taking on DePaul. Coverage begins Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
170.
170. 77.1 quilos, 77,100 para Matt Dwyer. E vem aí o seu adversário, and his opponent, William Patolino.
William Patolino is incredibly focused on his fight tomorrow night. So focused, in fact, that he printed out 17 copies of a photo of his opponent, Matt Dwyer, and posted them all over his hotel room here in Porto Alegre.
$168.
168. 76.2 quilos. 76 quilos e 200 gramas para William Patolino. Aí confirmado o luta na divisão dos meio-médios, Matt Dwyer e William Patolino. Vamos avançando. Vamos para a divisão peso galo feminino. Women's Bantamweight Division. Vão se enfrentar Jéssica Andrade e Marion Reneau. A primeira a caminhar para a balança, the first on the scale is Miss Marion Belizean Browser Reneau.
Wednesday, don't miss a special 7 p.m. edition of UFC Tonight when we hear from women's bantamweight champion Ronda Rousey and top prospect Holly Holm before their fights at UFC 184. Plus, the analysis and breaking news you've come to expect every week. Catch UFC Tonight Wednesday at 7 Eastern only on Fox Sports 1.
$134.
134. 6.7 quilos. 60 quilos e 700 gramas para Marion Reneau. Vem aí a sua adversária and his opponent, Jéssica Batistaca Andrade.
Jéssica Andrade is called Bate Estaca. When you look at it, it actually means pile driver. So I dug in. Why is this woman nicknamed pile driver? It's because she actually pile drived another woman in a grappling tournament down in Brazil. Pretty strong nickname to have. I've personally never seen that in a grappling tournament.
$135. 61.2 quilos, 61 quilos e 200 gramas para Jéssica Batistaca. Confirmada a última luta do card preliminar, divisão peso galo feminino, Marion.
Oh, that's going to be a hot fight, gentlemen. I hate to tell you. Well, so far so good. Everybody's making weight. Welcome back to LA. Just 12 more fighters need to make it official. The six-pack main card starts with welterweights Sean Strickland and Santiago Ponzinibbio. Strickland is up first.
Well, I've trained with Sean Strickland for around a year now, on and off, and let me tell you, the guy does have some serious skills, and that's evident when you look at his undefeated record of 15-0. He was formerly a middleweight. This is the first time he's dropping down to welterweight, so hopefully we see him stepping onto the scale at 170 pounds. He has an excellent ground game, and he does have a good counter-striking game. In this fight, he's looking for a finish. His last fight was kind of a lackluster performance, he feels, and he really wants to push the pace, get a finish, and say to Joe Silva and Dana White, listen, I'm here, this is what I'm really capable of.
He looks solid at this weight class. He looks like a welterweight.
And he hasn't lost any strength either.
171. 171.
You know, going down a weight class, that's always something that could happen, you know, and training with him, he's certainly still got the strength he had at middleweight.
His opponent, Mr. Santiago Ponzinibbio.
Santiago Ponzinibbio. Say that 3 times as fast as you can, I dare you. Look, this guy, he looked like a wonderful prospect on The Ultimate Fighter Brazil, too. In fact, he made it to the finals, but had to pull out because he broke his hand in his semifinal fight. And that's really been the story of his UFC career. It's been a mix and match, a circus of injuries for a guy that we really thought could one day develop into a contender. You know, was supposed to fight Jordan Mean, gets replaced by Perpetuo. Was supposed to face Ildemar Alcântara, he has a knee injury. Supposed to fight Sergio Moraes, injury replaced by Wendell Oliveira. So hopefully this young man can really get consistent, because I'll tell you what, when you watch him fight tomorrow, he's got the stuff that can make a contender in this division.
Yeah, he's got 11 knockout wins, and he's finished his opponent in his last 9 fights, or last 9 wins, rather.
171. 171. 77.5 quilos. 77 quilos e 500 gramas para Santiago Ponzinibbio. Vai confirmar a primeira luta do card principal, divisão dos meio-médios, Strickland e Santiago Ponzinibbio. Vamos avançando para a divisão dos galos, Bantamweight Division. Vão se enfrentar Iuri Alcântara e Frankie Saenz. O primeiro a caminhar para a balança, the first on the scale is Mr. Frankie Saenz.
Frankie Saenz knows he has a tough task in front of him in opponent Iuri Alcântara, but he believes all the extra time he spent in the gym with training partner Henry Cejudo will make the difference, and he will come out victorious tomorrow night.
Frankie Saenz coming in hot, guys, won his last 5 fights in a row. A lot of momentum coming in. And
coming in as the biggest underdog on the card, too, so he's going to need all that momentum.
Yeah, Alcântara is a -700.
136.
Saenz a +450.
61.5 quilos, 61 quilos e meio para Frankie Saenz. Vem aí o seu adversário and his opponent, Iuri Marion.
I'll tell you, Iuri comes in as number 8 bantamweight in the world. He's got a heck of a win streak himself as well. And he actually said about his opponent, look, I'm looking to fight guys ranked higher than me. I'm not looking to fight guys that are out of the rankings. So he's got to go out there and he needs to make a statement in this fight. He wants a top 5 fight. He's going to have to go earn it. People forget how good this guy is. He actually KO'd Ricardo Lamas back in the WEC days. And as a WEC vet, you know, we try to bring up that stuff all the time.
Never forget, Brian.
That's right. Never forget.
There's always the sign of a true fighter. They want to fight the guys ranked higher than them. You know, that's what I like to see.
And it's tough because when they're ranked higher than you, look, they don't want to fight up the rankings either.
100%.
And a guy that's dangerous Alcântara, they don't want, if you're not ranked number 4 or 5, you're not looking to fight this guy. He's dangerous.
Sure. And he certainly takes his time.
I was just going to say, not the fastest.
He's not in a rush.
Maybe that's why.
He doesn't look happy.
Now, I tell you what, I saw last week, these pair of underwear weighed almost 2.5 pounds.
Yeah, no, I saw that, so you never know.
136.
There you go.
There we go.
The underpants.
Boom.
Slimline white ones, I would recommend it. What I wear.
The never-ending stare down here. The longest weigh-in for one fighter.
Right.
You know, the guys backstage waiting to weigh in.
Oh,
We were talking about this before. They're like, come on, guys, speed up.
He's making no friends back there behind that curtain, ladies and gentlemen.
Frank Mir doesn't care, though.
Yeah, at least it's heavyweights today.
Yeah. They're having a cheeseburger. All right, so it's official.
Frankie, Saenz e Iuri Alcântara. Vamos avançando, vamos para a pesagem da divisão dos leves. Lightweight Division. Vão se enfrentar o Rustam, Khabilov e Adriano Martins. O primeiro a caminhar para a balança. The first on the scale is Mr. Adriano Martins.
A native Brazilian hailing out of Manaus, Adriano Martins actually decided to do some of his training camp in the States at American Top Team. He said the technical instruction as well as the quality of sparring partners has made a huge difference in his skill set.
What I got of Martins is that he admitted he wasn't quite ready for that Cerrone fight. You know, asked for it, you know, it's one of those great opportunities that really put a lot of things in check for him, made him understand what he needed to change in his training.
156. Oh, before he ate that high kick and got knocked out, it wasn't like he was out of that fight. He was looking pretty solid. This kid's got a great skill set.
E vem aí o seu adversário and his opponent, Mr. Rustam Tiger.
The last time we saw Rustam Khabilov in the octagon, he got choked out by the new welterweight prospect Benson Henderson in a fight that many thought he was winning until the submission came late in round 4. He wanted to fight again ASAP and was due to face Danny Castillo at UFC 182, but the return was delayed due to unforeseen visa complications. Now, paperwork all taken care of, Rustam is back in the octagon, so if you're a fan of seeing grown men being suplexed, thrown on the head, and generally thrown around like a rag doll, tune in because this fight, Rustam Khabilov, that is what he does. Oh.
He's telling the commission to relax and take the shorts off. I think he'll be fine. 156.
There we go.
Now, he did say he had to do his training at home this time because of those visa issues.
Yep.
But good news for all of us, Greg Jackson is there. We may hear Russian accented Greg Jackson in the corner, which is the greatest thing ever.
Hey, you talked about the suplexes. I was there the first day he trained in Greg Jackson's gym, and he didn't understand any English, and the problem was getting him to stop suplexing us.
Wow. When you see a suplex like his, it really is a thing of beauty.
Yeah, especially when you're the one inverted.
Vamos para os médios, middleweight division. Vão se enfrentar Cezar Ferreira e Alvey. O primeiro a caminhar para a balança, the first on the scale is Mr. Alvey.
Now, Sam Alvey's never been known as a real technical striker, but he did hire a new striking coach, Gokam Disley, a new Dutch striker that he's very happy with. Now, let's get the important matters here, Mike. I don't know about you and your marriage, but when I go in the octagon, I go to sometimes get away from losing arguments to my wife. This guy is actually cornered by his wife.
know.
Could you imagine the stress? And not to mention the nice underwear. 186.
Well, his wife obviously isn't giving good fashion advice. Because I'm not sure what's going on with his
Which
neck.
is ironic.
But my wife wouldn't let me step on a scale almost naked with some kind of accessory around my neck.
And she won America's Next Top Model, too. You would think the fashion sense would be there.
All right, the winner of Ultimate Fighter Brazil, Muchonche, has gone 4-1 in the octagon since winning that show, with his only loss coming by way of knockout from my next opponent, CB Dollaway. As always, one learns more from a loss than a victory, and in his next bout, he got back to winning ways with a dominant victory over tough veteran Andrew Craig, and looked much more composed and patient, but still exploded with his vicious trademark striking when the time was right.
Yeah, look out for the left kick of death from this guy. It is absolutely vicious. He used to practice capoeira when he first got into martial arts, so his flexibility and dexterity with his kicks are outstanding.
Well, and his capoeira is incredible. Vitor introduced me to Cezar a few years back, promising me this was a future champion. He did some capoeira for us. Phenomenal.
185.
185, that's how you make weight.
For someone... Okay.
Now, I'm going to say, he said that they have a UFC event every Tuesday and Friday down at the Black Zillions, obviously alluding to their hard sparring sessions. And big smile on Sam Alvey.
He's smiling, Sam Alvey, Michael.
Vamos avançando, vamos para a pesagem da penúltima luta. Divisão dos leves, Lightweight Division. Vão se enfrentar Edson Barboza e Michael Johnson. O primeiro a caminhar para a balança, the first on the scale is Mr. Michael the Menace Johnson.
Earlier this week, Edson Barboza went on the radio and he said that he was faster than Michael Johnson. Johnson later went on the same radio show and said that that was the funniest thing that he'd ever heard. Johnson said, "I have faster kicks, but his hands aren't as fast as mine and his movements aren't as fast as mine." He later went on to say that there is no comparison in their speed and that once the fight starts, Barboza will be second guessing the comments that he made on the radio. He also alluded to the fact that Barboza possibly has a weak chin, which he plans to expose in the fight, pardon me.
Now, our good friend Rashad Evans likes to refer to Michael Johnson as his son. They have a very close bond, training together at Black Zillions.
155.
155.
Really has a lot of belief in Michael Johnson, even though he's coming off a long layoff. This guy has definitely got an incredible skill set.
And his opponent, Mr. Edson Jr. Barboza.
Well, Mike, you already alluded to the elephant in the room. You know, they asked Barboza about his chin. He got so angry that he started referencing his record. He said, look, I've got 30 Muay Thai fights. I've been knocked out once. He's got 17 mixed martial arts fights. He's only been knocked out once. So he thinks it's an absolute farce. And I'll tell you what, when you break these two guys down on paper and you look at the striking, this is one of the most dangerous guys in the UFC.
156. 77.8.
I mean, the thing is, you fight the best guys in the world, they all package good punch. Occasionally you're going to get dropped, and unfortunately people like to say that that means you've got a weak chin. It doesn't mean you have a weak chin, far from it. And of course I'm going to say that myself because I've been dropped once or twice myself as well.
You do this long enough, everybody wakes up looking at the legs.
Michael Johnson e Edson Barboza. Agora vamos conferir pouquinho mais da preparação dos dois atletas.
We have weighed in 20 of the 22 fighters on the card tomorrow night in Brazil. But before we weigh in the heavyweights, let's take a closer look at Bigfoot Silva and Mr. Frank Mir.
O meu sonho é ser campeão do UFC e é o que eu vou fazer para realizar meu sonho.
In this fight, really, I'm about to show that I'm still a force to be reckoned with. I'm as hungry now as I was the very first day I stepped in the octagon.
Frank Mir versus Antônio Bigfoot Silva is a true battle of veterans. Frank Mir is the former UFC heavyweight champion. He is the only guy in the history of the UFC's heavyweight division to break two different fighters' bones with submissions. Frank Mir has fought the best of the best through several generations. With Antônio Bigfoot Silva, you got one of the very best top games in the business. He's got victories over some really high-level competitions, including Fedor Emelianenko.
Unbelievable!
He has big power in his punches, which is evident in his stoppage victory over Alistair Overeem. You have two very experienced heavyweights who are eager to prove that they still belong in the top 10 of the UFC's biggest division.
Ele tem a qualidade dele, mas eu acredito que a minha parte em pé é mais forte do que a dele.
I feel that I'm just way more athletic. I feel that's going to make it hard for Bigfoot to land some of his harder shots.
Os fãs podem esperar uma grande luta, podem esperar uma guerra, mas eu acredito que eu possa conseguir uma vitória por nocaute.
My submissions are a little more destructive than most, so if I catch anybody, they can be finished.
All right, you want to talk about bringing firepower into a fight. Frank Mir actually brought bullets to Brazil. He managed to get from Vegas to LA with bullets in his bag and then didn't get caught until he got to Sao Paulo. Had to make an emergency call to Dana White saying, hey, look, I interchange my bags all the time. I must have gone shooting. Had a couple more rounds of ammunition than he had planned in his training bag as he was getting down to Brazil. But luckily he made it in and there's nothing wrong with the fight.
Yeah, I heard that earlier this week. I couldn't believe it.
I'll tell you what, if any of you listeners at home are looking to donate a limb to science, this is the guy to go see. He will happily tear it off for you.
Let's see what he weighs.
261.
261. Wow, that's weight.
118 kilos, 118 kilos para Frank Mir.
You know, it's been a long layoff for him, and some people think that's a disadvantage, but he said the good thing about it is he's healed up all those nagging injuries.
11 years ago, I was invited to a gym to spar with a certain individual. I was warned, hey, he's a pretty big guy. When I got there, I was greeted by none other than Antônio Bigfoot Silva. He weighed 300 pounds back then and was a BJJ purple belt. We sparred with MMA gloves on, and needless to say, I was a little overwhelmed. At one point, when he had me in full mount and was raining down his gigantic hands into my face repeatedly, the coaches at the gym offered their words of encouragement. "Bridge, Michael, bridge," they screamed. Obviously, any resistance was futile, and I accepted my role as a human punch bag for that day. Kids, if you're watching and you want to pursue a career in mixed martial arts, do not spar with Antônio Silva when you're starting out. That would be my advice. It was a very hard day at the office. Bridge, Michael. Bridge, Michael. I'm like, bridge?
264.
I didn't even know what bridge meant. 264. 3 pounds. That's it between these two.
Antônio Bigfoot Silva. E aí você acompanha, confirmada portanto a luta principal, Antônio Bigfoot Silva e Frankie, o ex-campeão.